Hi, I'm Jennifer Warner, Director of Economic Development and Commercial Research at Florida Realtors, and I'm sitting in this month for Dr. Brad O'Connor. The first half of 2026 has come to a close, and Florida Realtors has just released its housing market statistics for the month of June. So let's take a look at what's going on here in the Sunshine State. As we typically do, let's start by looking at the latest figures for closed home sales in Florida. The most notable statistic that jumped out was closed sales for single-family homes were up 9.3% year over year. But before you start doing cartwheels, let's examine the impact of the base effect. Year-over-year growth is measured against where we were 12 months ago, and June 2025 was a particularly weak month for sales. When last year's starting point is unusually low, such as 24,000 sales, even a modest improvement this year produced a relatively large percentage increase. June 2026 saw just over 26,000 sales, which is stronger than what we saw last year in terms of total number of sales, but still really amounts to just about 2,200 additional sales. Not to entirely put a wet blanket on this month's read, we should put this into context. You may recall around this time last year, interest rates were hovering closer to 7%, resulting in a weaker spring buying season overall. However, rates began to fall during the summer and continued to come in at just around 6% for the remainder of the year. Buyers responded, giving closed sales a stronger back half of the year. So far in 2026, closed sales continue to exceed what we saw during the same time period in 2025, with trends this year are more closely resembling total sales numbers from 2023. In fact, June 2023 numbers are nearly identical to this year. Even as interest rates are sustaining around 6.5%, we are seeing buyers showing up. Over in our condo and townhouse property type category, 2025 closed sales in June also experienced an unusually large month-over-month decline from May to June last year, just as single-family home sales did. The result, you guessed it, a somewhat inflated year-over-year percentage increase of 14%. Month-over-month, closed sales of condos and townhouses are essentially flat, with only 97 additional sales. Still, flat is an improvement after suffering declines for several quarters, and current levels are exceeding 2025's. It appears that the relative affordability of this property type is appealing to buyers who can handle the finance costs associated with the 6.5% interest rate when the sticker price overall is lower. Now let's move our focus over to a supply-side metric, new listings. New listings track how many individual homes were listed for sale in one or more of Florida's multiple listing services each month. For this statistic, we exclude new listings of properties that have only been off the market for less than 2 months, unless the reason they went off the market was a successful sale. We do this so that we predominantly only capture fresh new sales attempts rather than homes that were essentially already on the market. New listings for single-family homes in Florida came in at a little over 30,000 this month, which is pretty much exactly the same for each June since 2023 when inventory began compressing again. Year-over-year compression is virtually non-existent, with month-over-month decreasing by only 5%. Over in the condo and townhouse category, new listings continue to fall to 2019 levels. We've been tracking this for months now, and it ties into what we're seeing in closed sales. While this property type has certainly seen challenges, and individual units or buildings may still experience them, we're finding that well-positioned units in buildings with strong management and reserves are returning to a more normal market. Dramatic year-over-year numbers may elude us this time, as new listings are down only 1.4% from a year ago. Active listings for single-family homes fell slightly after holding steady for several months, giving a year-over-year decline of nearly 16%. We've also been watching this metric for a while now, and it's a continuation of the first real slowdown in inventory growth that we've seen for single-family homes going into the summer since 2020. A similar trend is taking place in the condo and townhouse property category, with levels continuing their decline coming in at a negative 14.3% year over year. Again, looking to 2019 to compare to a more normal time, active listings are up only 15.7% compared to the same time that year. Taking a look briefly at both of these property types together over the history of our data, a few things are clear. First, we are not anywhere near levels observed coming out of the Great Financial Crisis. And second, there appears to be a trend towards active listing decline that has been sustained for a while now. The confluence of these supply and demand dynamics are playing out in pricing. The median sale price for single-family homes rose by 4.9% year over year to $432,000. This is the largest percent change we've observed in 2026 and hovers around the peak pricing seen in June 2024 when prices came in at nearly $429,000. This also continues price levels that are in the new normal established in 2022. While there are moderate changes month to month and even year over year, prices continue to hover around a level that was kicked off during the pandemic era. Condos and townhouses are seeing gains as well, though a little more muted than single-family homes. Year-over-year prices are up 1.7% and are coming in at $305,000. Just like single-family homes, though, pricing has been hovering around the same level since 2022. Buyers now have the upper hand in most local Florida markets, but certainly not all of them. What about in your market? Well, if you're a member of Florida Realtors, you can explore your local data to find out by going to sunstats.floridarealtors.org. There, you'll find the latest, most accurate statistics available for every metro area, county, city, and zip code in the state, right at your fingertips. So be sure to dig into your local statistics for June and continue to master your market. We'll be back next month with another update. See you then.